Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I am Kirk Henderson, and you are joined by myself and Josh Bowe. It is February 3rd, Saturday night, about 10:30. Dallas Mavericks just lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, second time this season. Game closed out with a final score of 129 to 117. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to think of how we're going to talk about this game because the vibes feel very similar to when the Mavericks lost those two games back to back to the Hornets last season. Those losses dropped them under 500, and basically we knew that the season was over. This is interesting because they're 26 and 23. They're still 30 or whatever. I think they got like 35 or so games left to play. It's not over, but I feel like whatever, there are a lot of reasons why. We'll get into it, but it felt like a breaking point for a lot of people that I think we're kind of holding on some optimism about where this team could go.
Well, similar to the Mavericks 3-point shooting, your camera died. So you work on that while I kind of ramble in response. I find that sort of lead in very interesting because I don't know what I expected out of this game, because Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the players I probably have the most fear and respect for on a game-to-game basis. So when you're playing the Bucks, even with days of rest, once you know Derek Lively's out of the game, once you know Kyrie's, Kyrie's just, I'm sure he'll play the next game at this point. But if Kyrie's not playing, you're still just missing 3 of your 5 regular starters. I don't have a lot of high expectations for this game. So when the Mavericks come out, and it's funny, I could not find the game on my ridiculous streaming service that I have. So I missed the 7 of 8 3-point barrage.
So you missed the best part of the game for the Mavericks.
Yeah, so I missed like this best, and like the Mavs Slack is blowing up about the game. And of course, it's just like, all right, cool. And then the moment I tune in, I mean, within minutes, like probably not even minutes, it might have been 30 seconds later, Luka Doncic and Giannis got in that little scrum on the floor where Luka displayed remarkable flexibility. I just want to point that out. And rolled his ankle in such a way to where I remember thinking, oh, okay, there's the season. Good thing that Knicks pick is top 10 protected.
Yeah.
And
it
then
looked awful. Like
it was as
bad.
gross of an injury that didn't actually, he has a sprained ankle, but some people just have pliable ankles like that. It was one of the grossest things that didn't actually hurt a player that I've ever seen. And then he comes back in and proceeds to sort of go to, just really play a spectacular offensive quarter and half. It does bear mentioning, though, that he does not play defense sometimes. And tonight was one of those games where for stretches of game, like he got beat on a backdoor cut to the rim for a dunk where he didn't move.
Yeah, he was definitely he definitely, like, his ankle was still like a thing. Like, it's not like he came back and that necessarily mean he was totally fine. He was just fine enough to get back into the game. But you could tell, like, he was like, okay, I'm just going to save what I have.
Well, his defense picked up as the game went on.
Yeah.
Like, the defense.
Maybe he loosened up the ankle a little bit or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was definitely something.
But
then, things didn't go to hell. And, this is just, how would you describe that last 2 minutes? Because my problem
Last 2 minutes of the game or the last 2 minutes of the half?
Second quarter, where the Bucks went on a 15-0 run in the final 2 minutes of a quarter.
It was bad.
But what happened? Because you gotta understand, like, I'm writing, my wife is talking to me, I'm like waiting to eat my dinner at halftime, and I look up and I'm just like, what? And then I'm scrolling through the play-by-play, and I noticed the same thing I always notice, that Jason Kidd didn't call a fucking timeout. But that feels very reductive to what happened. Can you kind of tell me what happened?
Well, the offense dried up in terms of missed threes, and I mean, I can go on a longer soliloquy, but oh god, I can't even say that word.
Soliloquy.
Yeah, that's tough for me right now. Sorry, guys. I mean, long story short, missed threes and turnovers, and then when you have missed threes and turnovers with this version of Mavericks transition defense, which might be one of the worst transition defenses in the entire NBA. And when you give Giannis and Dame, free cracks at this transition defense, I mean, there was nothing they could do. Luka had, he missed a shot. He thought he got fouled. And in that, not only does he miss a shot, which led to a transition opportunity, and of course, he thought he got fouled. We can argue ref stuff. We can talk about that later, because I know a lot of people are mad about the refs, and in some cases, rightly so. But so it leads to, not only is it a missed shot, it leads to a fast break opportunity where Luka gets a transition take foul on Giannis. Because if he didn't, because Giannis was about to have a free throw line dunk, like he was about to obliterate the rim because no one was getting back. And then he picks up a technical. So that's 2 free throws, one for the technical, one for the transition take foul. Then they get the 3-pointer on the possession that they keep. So that's 5 points in one possession. And of course, that's the 3-pointer they make where Giannis Antetokounmpo basically kicked Luka as he was driving baseline and passing it to the corner 3, which they reviewed and called incidental contact, which was a bad call.
You think it was? Like, Luka sold it. Like, that looked like somebody, when they, Stone Cold used to kick somebody in the stomach before he did the stunner. That's what that kick was.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but it was still clear. Then maybe Luka did sell it. I thought what they should have called, they should have taken away the 3, but maybe just called a normal foul. Like, there were some people wondering if it was like a hostile act. I was like, no, but maybe just call an offensive foul and take away the made 3. So, but that doesn't happen. And then the Mavericks come back with their next possession. Luka misses a shot, and then Giannis drills a 3 at the buzzer. So they scored in 29 seconds. They scored 8 points. So that's how you lose 25-point leads in a hurry. So if you want to go further, I mean, this game was the just personification of this Mavericks team, like top to bottom. Obviously, the injuries make things worse. Maybe this isn't maybe the best version of this Mavericks team, but stylistically, like, their strengths and weaknesses, I mean, they were on full display tonight. Like, you get the 9 of 11 start from 3. They look awesome. And the Bucks scored 20 points in the first quarter. And you talked with Mavs.com, Bobby Corral, on a really good podcast. And y'all basically went through the numbers. When the Mavericks get to execute the things that they like to execute defensively, they're very good. Like, I remember Bobby talking about when they get to ice the pick and roll, when they get to switch and defend in isolation, they're like, both of those things are one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. The thing about that is you can only do that in a half-court offense. And, there goes my camera again. Sorry.
This is good.
Let me just keep talking if it keeps
going.
This
is emblematic of the Mavericks season. The best part is Josh knows he needs to replace his camera. He just won't actually replace his camera. That's my favorite part about this.
Right in the middle of what I'm talking about, too.
It's okay. So, yeah, it sounded good.
They start 9 of 11 from 3, and their defense looks amazing, like I said, because they can execute their half-court defensive principles. And they can't do that when they're and you can't execute your half-court defense when you're missing a ton of threes and you're turning the ball over a ton. The Mavericks had 18 turnovers tonight.
The turnovers tonight.
21 turnovers.
They're not a turnover-prone team, and some of the turnovers they had tonight were just crushing.
Yeah, so 21 turnovers. After the 9 of 11 from 3 start, they finished 7 of 28. So they miss 21 3-pointers to finish the game, making only 7. And the Bucks scored 25 points off turnovers, and they scored 19 fast break points, 64 points in the paint. So basically, after that 9 of 11 start, the Mavericks threes dried up. The Bucks rotations got a little bit better. I think Luka's 3-pointer suffered after the ankle injury because he was looking a little hot at the start of the game, and then I think that ankle injury kind of made those threes a little harder to make. But
he's being guarded by Giannis, and
yeah, I know.
That's the secondary part of this. Whereas, there were a couple of times in that game where he sought out Giannis, which I love because I actually think he kind of kicks Giannis's ass. But Giannis gets a great whistle against Luka. There was one tip in towards the end when the game was kind of already done, the Derrick Jones Jr. one, where he gets Giannis on his back hip. Giannis fouls the shit out of him, no call, and then he just goes over to the refs like my 8-year-old, 7-year-old child does, and is like, and it's like, dude, just you're not going to get all the calls against a former defensive player of the year. I get it.
Yeah, that's not great. And something about the Mavericks, I've been thinking their transition defense is just so bad. I wonder how much of it is Luka's in the paint a lot, even when he's not shooting, because when he's creating 3-pointers, because he's touching the paint usually, either in a pick and roll or a drive. Obviously missed 3-pointers are bad. And we know that if your floor is spaced where you've got 2 guys in the corner and you miss a 3 and that ball is shooting out to the top of the key and you've got 2 people in the corner, it's hard to get back on defense. Well, the Mavericks always have 2 people in the corner, and also Luka's in the paint. So think about when he's passing the ball to people at the 3-point line, the Mavericks have 2 guys in the corner and Luka's probably somewhere in the paint. If that's a missed shot going up the top of the wing, the Mavericks are basically down. If they're not getting back as fast as possible, they're basically 3-man down almost every single transition opportunity.
That was one of the things,
because there's 2 guys in the corner and Luka's in the paint passing the ball out to a shooter. So that's they've got to, and that's a systematic thing, but that's also guys got to start leaking back before.
Yeah, the guy who doesn't get the pass has to start making his way back a little bit.
Yes,
that was one of the things that happened. Josh Green shot a corner 3 from the right corner in the final 2 minutes of the second quarter, and then he I don't think he got fouled, but he ends up on his back. And the shot was so short that it ricocheted off the side of the rim down.
Yeah, I remember this.
And I mean, that's as bad as a turnover. Those two things together. When you miss corner 3s horribly, it is as bad as a live ball turnover.
Yeah. It's an ignition to a fast break. And I've just been because I've been thinking, I'm why have the Mavericks been so bad about transition defense? Because they're also, usually you're a bad defensive transition team because you want to pound the offensive glass.
Right.
The Mavericks are a bad offensive rebounding team too. So it's not like they're getting killed because guys are crashing the glass. I think it's just because this team is so reliant on 3-point shooting. They've always got 2 guys spaced in the corner. Now, to be fair, most NBA teams have 2 guys spaced in the corner, but Luka's always in the paint too. And if he's not getting back, if he's not getting back, that means they're down 3 guys when they miss a 3, which is tough. But yeah, it's just, that was the game. They made their 3s and their half-court defense looked awesome in the first quarter. From second quarter to the fourth quarter, they turned the ball over, they missed their 3s, and they didn't have an opportunity to play half-court defense, and they lost the game.
Well, and the final score, and really the final 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, what happened when the Mavericks got down by they really, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. The Mavericks only got down by about 6 points by the Bucks. So they're up by 25. And then there's essentially a 30-point swing for the Mavericks to be down by 5 or 6 in the third quarter.
Yep.
Obviously, you don't like a 30-point swing, but something about at that point, the Mavericks are down 5, and they wake up a little bit. They find a little bit of dignity, a little bit of pride.
Yeah.
Remember that. They come back in the game. They actually retake the lead in the fourth quarter, or in the third quarter, only to give it up on the final shot in 6 seconds left. If you want to talk about bad transition defense like that, it's just guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they never got the lead. The Bucks punched them in the mouth to start the fourth. They basically got up by 7 to 9 points is what I wrote in my recap, and then hung out at that point for the next 6 minutes of play. The Mavericks would score. They would do something with Giannis. They would isolate Giannis, and then he'd get a layup or a putback, or Dame Lillard, who was 10 of 11 from the floor. My God. And it was good night from there.
Dame and Giannis combined to go 30 of 37 from the field.
The one play that had me in stitches, and Luka didn't actually argue the call, but Giannis attempted a Euro step with the carryover of the ball over Luka's head. Did you see that one?
I don't remember that one off top.
It was coming from the top left, and he crossed over and basically swung the ball over top of Luka. So Luka's 6'8". Like this, it looked ridiculous. And Luka essentially fouled him in the middle. I mean, Luka didn't argue the call. He was just pissed because a lot of Giannis's motions, and I'm glad there's probably not any Bucks fans in here. And if there are, hi. A lot of what Giannis does motion-wise is not particularly graceful. And a lot of like asshole hooper people would say he doesn't have a bag. Well, who the fuck cares if you can just run people over? And the way the game is officiated nowadays, the way he gets angles and space on people, he's just going to score a lot. He's he's an incredible basketball player. That's not to take anything away from him. He is maximizing the ability that he has paired with the way that the game is called. And it was there were just a couple instances of the way that he is able to do things physically that simply cannot be matched. And it was something to watch.
Yeah. Do you remember the one that sticks out to me the most is they're in transition. The Bucks are, Giannis has the ball. I mean, it happened repeatedly throughout the night, but there was one that just stuck out to me. It was in the second half. And Giannis says, he's rampaging down the middle of the floor on a transition opportunity. The Mavericks were actually back. I think they had more guys back than the Bucks did. So they actually had an defensive advantage for once in transition. And Maxi was back, in the paint, in a stance, guarding, got his hands up, not hands up, but he's in the defensive posture, waiting for Giannis. And Giannis just it's like he's not even there. He just basically kind of dips in, doesn't shoulder check him, just goes through and uses his strength and gets an and one. And he just Maxi starts in the paint and he's almost near the stanchion, because Giannis just moves him, not in an offensive foul way, just because he's so damn what Shaq would do to guys in the low post, where guys would be guarding him on the block and then end up on the floor near the camera people and he's dunking it. That's what Giannis reminds me of. It's unbelievable.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. If you guys are here in the stream, if you could head down and hit the like button, I'd very much appreciate it. While you're down there, consider subscribing to Pod Maverick. We do these shows, and then, I don't know, I think particularly as the season wears on, I feel good tonight. I'm going to do a secondary live show where if you would like to come talk basketball with me, get out some frustration, we'll hang out for a little bit and talk a little bit of basketball. So be ready for that. While you're, if you're listening via a podcast and it's Saturday or Sunday, Monday morning, consider subscribing to our show. Leave us a review. Be very grateful. Those who are watching on the YouTube, either in the live show or later on, if you could leave a comment, really appreciate it. I read all of the comments, even the very mean ones, and nothing tops YouTube like mean comments. Twitter thinks it's mean, and it just doesn't have it. I will be hosting a second show tonight. So those of you who regularly participate, hang around because I would like to talk some ball with you. And then stay tuned here for a quick ad read if you're listening on the audio show. We'll be right back. Okay, I don't really know what else to talk about this game because you go through and you look at, they played 7.5 guys. This was a game, where Jaden Hardy played 11 minutes. He was 1 of 4 from the floor. Kid yanked him pretty quick because Hardy's just got to understand that he can't do off the dribble shit where he is stationary. If he catches it on the move off of receiving a pass, I'm fine with it. When he takes dribble move shots, I want to die. It's awful.
Yeah, I feel like with Hardy, kid is at the place where he puts him in kind of, he has a quick hook. He kind of knows when it's going to be good Hardy or bad Hardy. Mm-hmm. And credit to him. I mean, actually, probably one of his better coaching moves tonight.
Hardy was bad.
Right, and not run him out there. But boy, have you looked at Luka's minute game log? It's not pretty.
Yeah, Kid said in the pregame that he wanted to keep him under 40 minutes, but Luka said since he hadn't played in 4 days, he'd be happy playing all 48. And this just goes that comment followed by the action is just telling me they don't have a handle on Luka Doncic, period.
But also, what's the alternative?
They also don't have a choice.
Yeah. They don't trust Seth. He tried Jaden Hardy, didn't look good. Like when Kyrie's out, this roster just there's nothing there. I mean, do you want to run a THJ Josh Green backcourt for 5 minutes? I don't know. Like that's the only thing I could think of. But like the thing that I'm really concerned about is, I mean, if Kyrie does not come back, I mean, I don't care how good a shape Luka's in. You cannot have this usage with this minute load and not wear down. Like he's gonna wear down. He's human. He's not a robot. I mean, maybe he doesn't, but like there's a part of me that's kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop with Luka. And it's not Luka's fault.
Well, I mean, the ankle that you're just like looking and you're like, man, this is just the culmination of a lot of minutes. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. It just doesn't. The game plan being, Luka needs to play 45 minutes, and they're basically. So he's played 42 minutes or more in 4 straight games. And the team is 2-2 in those 4 games. So they're not, like not only is he playing an ungodly amount of minutes, an unsustainable amount of minutes, they're 500 in those 4 games. Like it's just, it'd be one thing if they were like 4-0 or 3-1, but like if they're not even winning basketball, like, I don't know. It just feels like, and I'm not saying it's a bad coaching thing. It's just like, Kyrie has to get back or things are just going to snowball on them really quickly.
Well, then you look at the other guys that play tonight. And when you consider how many guys are hurt, Grant Williams gets the start tonight. Hilariously, he is a plus 13. Like that.
And Green was a minus 29, which is pretty funny. And he had
once again, and because like Josh actually had a fairly interesting game. 20 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. I am convinced he has no idea how to pass during a fast break.
He had some bad.
He had 3 turnovers, and 2 of them had to have been on fast break, like live ball situations. And I'm just like, that's where his lack of experience long term, because he hasn't played basketball as long as some other guys, like really, really stands out. It's hard to get super mad at him, but like his speed is his weapon. So if he can't utilize anything other than getting to the rim, it's like, that said, he hit some clutch threes. He played a pretty good game. Hard to beat on a guy. I mean,
no. He's not.
But Grant.
Yes, Grant.
Grant.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Just an atrocious basketball player.
Yeah,
he makes the worst decisions at the worst times, and it's just, it's not funny. It's sad.
I mean, he had a layup that like spun in and out. Like it's getting
in the middle. Luka just hits him right in the hands. He has to move his hands from here to here and put the ball in the hoop, and he bricks it.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed. And then that pass on the ground to Jay Crowder.
He had 4 turnovers.
That's why he didn't. That's why he only played 20 or 23 minutes. Kid was like, I've seen enough.
For a low usage spot up guy to have 4 turnovers, that's like.
Well, the final one was the one in the second half in the left corner where he gets a kick out and just bumbles around.
It's, you look at what they rolled out.
I think they got to trade him. Is kind of my thing, because his vibes have to suck, because he is not a guy who silently complains. He is me. If I were a Dallas Maverick, because I can't play basketball anymore either, I would just be bitching and moaning and flailing, and his energy's awful. I don't know.
What are you trading him for?
Right? I don't know.
He's averaging 6 points a game in January. Like,
I still think you can convince another team that his some of his playoff stuff with the Celtics was real. I really do.
I think you have to attach a second to him. Like I don't see how you're getting value back. He still has 3 more years after this one. And I know his number is not huge, but with all these owners worried about like second apron stuff, like no contender's going to want that when they're trying to pinch pennies to make sure that they're not paying the mega tax. And then why would a bad team, a bad team will take him, but they're going to want to pick for it. Like, why else would they trade for him? Like, it's just his value right now is catastrophic. I mean, he's the new JaVale McGee right now. Like he's just, you just get this guy to a multi-year deal that you think is going to fill a specific role. And not only is he not filling that role, but he's doing things worse. Like when he was first acquired, I tried to, I remember saying something like, I'm not as high on him as everyone else, but it's still a solid move because if he at least just does the things that he does in Boston, he's a useful player.
Yeah, he's a rotation guy. Right.
I remember people being like, well, why are you down on the move? He's 24 or he's 25, whatever his age is. He's young, he's getting better, he's going to get more opportunities. But look at all this. I was like, yeah, but like he's a guy falling out of a rotation on a good playoff team at that age when he's had good playoff moments is weird. There were some numbers with his, defensive numbers were kind of weird last year. And then even then I was like, he's not the dynamic forward that everyone's asking for. And just assuming that he's just going to take that leap is just, I'm just a little cautious. But now
sure.
he's not even hitting spot up through. Like
nope.
He's not even doing 3-and-D stuff. And I'm just like,
he has like one game out of every 8 or 9 where it's like, oh, okay, there's that guy. And it's worse. It is worse than the Dorian stuff before. I'm trying to think how to phrase this because Dorian really didn't become an NBA player until he played with Luka. Like, that's fair. The second half of the 2018-19 seasons, Luka's rookie year, the last 30 games, Dorian shot like 40% from 3. And Dorian has made himself into an NBA player. I'm really pleased with how Dorian's career has gone about. But the Luka effect with him was real, particularly from distance. And the kind of shots that Luka gets guys, I mean, look at Derek Jones Jr. as an example. If you can get anyone with a reliable 3, they're going to score points. They're going to score points, which made there was this real Nick Angstad of Locked On Mavs, our friend, showed this graph the other day. We disagree with his conclusions. Out of the guys who play the most minutes but don't average either 10 points, 5 rebounds, or 3 assists, Grant and Josh were 2 of the top 5.
And Dorian was one of the others.
And Dorian was the other. And all these people have been coming at me being like, well, it's Luka having the ball for days. Nobody gets enough shots. And I'm like, guys,
let's look at other winning teams.
Luka by himself, and this is not hyperbole, Luka by himself generates more open threes than some teams generate. Teams. So if you can't hit shots within this offense, your value plummets. And that the Mavericks simply cannot find anyone that can hit open shots. Reggie was great for a year, half a year, really.
Well, that's why Tim is so important, and that's why it's hard to trade him. And that's what makes, even though they want to trade him, because, I mean, his defense was atrocious tonight. I know you pointed that out, but he made 4 of 8 from 3, and he was one of he wasn't great, but that you have to have a guy like that on your roster if you've got a guy like Luka. Not trying to argue Luka doesn't need to diversify the ball a little bit more. It'd be great, but you gotta be able to hit open
shots. To be clear, everyone, I see the comments in the chat. The Mavericks used the last tread available on Reggie Bullock's tires. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's not. I don't even think he's playing. You think he's on Houston?
He doesn't play.
We also have to mention. We talked about Grant. Quietly, the Derek Jones Jr. Revelation has cooled off, and he's kind of slowly morphed back into the player that he was for most of his career, which is still not terrible. It's still totally fine for a veteran's minimum that he's paid. He's still not I wouldn't call him underperforming. He's right in line with what he should be doing.
He's a minimum signing. He's great.
Right. But he was averaging 12.5 points a game in December. And there was a stretch where you're like, whoa, is he is something here? Did they unlock something? And then in January, teams are like, no, not really. They're treating him like the player that he is. He's actually not shooting terribly from 3 in January, 35%. He's only taking 2.8 per game. He's took none. He took none tonight. Took none in the Atlanta game that he last played. He's made 1 3 in his last 4 games. And again, it's not because he's necessarily shooting poorly. He's going games with 1, 2, 3 attempts. And that can muck things up because he's also, what he was doing in December, he was taking 5 threes, which was nice, but he was taking a lot of shots because he was taking advantage of the space. and driving to the rim and scoring at the rim and mixing it up with cuts and stuff. Like teams, I think, are starting to I think he's shown up a little bit more on scouting reports after that December. And I think teams are kind of more like, okay, we're not going to let this guy, we're going to let him shoot threes. We're not going to let him beat us off and finish at the rim, because that's where he will kill us. We're going to let him shoot, and then he's not shooting because he wants to get to the rim. He's not a shooter. So that's also so you're playing, thank God Maxi woke up from the dead, because otherwise you look at your forward spots past Luka and Green, Jones, Williams, and Kleber. Jones didn't shoot a three. Williams was 0 for 2. If Maxi played if Maxi played like he played this season, they would have lost this game by 35 points. So on one hand, it's a shame that they wasted the Maxi game, but on the other hand, they're just playing these guys that are they're just not, there just needs to be a little bit more production.
Yeah. Well, did we even talk about the Maxi game?
No, I'm just that's the first mention. It was crazy.
So that's the most that first of all, that's Maxi's first double-digit point game of the year. It is and I just did some brief looking into this. It is the most 2-point field goals he's had in a game since November of 2022. Maxi does not shoot 2-pointers for anybody's point of reference. I mean, he played a heck of a game. He looked like a comfortable basketball player. And
he had 47 points on the season entering tonight.
Before tonight?
Yes.
Good God.
Yeah, and he scored 8 in the first 3 minutes. Yeah, he was great. The thing that, the threes are nice. You mentioned this in the recap. 4 2-pointers.
Good 2-pointers. They look good.
He skied for you missed it in the first quarter, in the first opening minutes. He skied for an alley-oop with Luka and finished it with a two-hand dunk. When was the last time we've seen Maxi, finish with a dunk in the lane in a pick and roll? It looked like he got the Kobe knee injection or something.
There's something to hit him though with confidence though. The confidence thing with him is very few NBA level players I've ever seen on offense.
Yeah.
I bet we get a month of fantastic play out of him now. I really do.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They need it.
Yeah, they do. They need everything. And even tonight, he just defensively, there was just, I feel like everyone that played, there's a caveat, some sort of catch. Even Luka's game was great, but we mentioned, defensively wasn't good. He missed 8 3-pointers, 9 turnovers. Even, Josh Green had a great game offensively, but I thought he got absolutely crushed on screens all night.
He's not a very good defender. The idea of Josh as a defensive player. It's just
we're running out of time. Not time, but we're just running out of things. It's just there's not a lot of tape on there. So yeah, it's just I'm curious. We've talked a lot about the game a lot. I know we've already talked for 33 minutes, but there's some apocalyptic takes brewing, and people are mad at the front office, and people want Kid fired after this game. And I'm like, is this a game where we need to step back and look at some bigger picture narratives, or do we need to wait till they get through this hellacious stretch? What's your mood? Are you?
Oh, my mood is
angry?
We can't. Do
you think it's over?
No, I really don't. I'm not an optimist, but they've showed enough to make it interesting. And where this all starts to boil over. And I wrote about this. Please go read my recap at MavsMoneyball.com. I talked about it. To me, this is almost wholly bad injury luck paired with a total lack of organizational composure. Kid makes me mad because Kid acts like he doesn't have anything to do with it. He has no control over it. Part of me gets why, because as a Hall of Fame point guard, he's sitting here saying these guys get paid to play basketball. They could afford to stop being babies. And I use the collective they, because we've seen some frankly, some childish behavior from Tim Hardaway, from
he's starting to pick up some technicals lately.
Why is that? Because leadership comes from the top down. And when you see Luka do it and nothing happens to Luka, why in the hell won't everybody else do it? But then, the Bucks announcers called this out tonight. And I guess I've just lived with this for so long. It didn't even occur to me. And some of you guys have probably thought about this. So I apologize because this is not a new point. But when Cuban is sitting there doing the same thing, why in the hell would anyone shape up? He acts like a fan because he is a fan, and I appreciate that, but he is still a leader within the organization. And then it peters out into everything else that happens. I mean, I didn't watch the Mavs broadcast tonight, so I can't speak to this. But I got a dozen messages from non-Mavs fans, from different, media people around the league. And they're like, is this what you listen to every game? Are they okay? And like that sort of thing, I called it an epidemic in my recap, because once you start complaining, it becomes the only thing you can do. And it's an organizational thing. They all have to stop. They all need to buck up and string together a series of performances. All of them. Luka cannot carry the offense all the time. Derek Lively cannot be the only defensive player. They have to do this together. The only way out of this mess is by playing through it. And they just can't seem to be able to do it for more than a game at a time. I mean, when was the last time, I feel like a crazy person, when was the last time the Mavericks won 3 consecutive games? I'm going to go look because I'm petty.
It's been it was probably
they won 3 games to start the year in January. Guess who those games were? Portland, and Minnesota. Minnesota game was impressive, but those other 2 games were cakewalks. Yeah. Other than that, they won 4 games to start December, and then they won 4 games to start the season.
Yeah.
There is no continuity game to game. There is not enough effort game to game. A lot of that is injuries. A lot of that is things that are completely reasonable. But every team has this excuse. And I'm reading the comments, and one person said blaming Luka again. Somebody else says this is a coaching problem. You can blame it anywhere you want. I don't fucking care. I just want it to stop, and I want to see some good basketball consistently from a team that I know can do it. They can't expect Luka to be a superhero every game.
No, they can't keep doing this 42, 45 minutes, but I also don't know where they go until Kyrie gets back. But yeah, the organizational stuff, like I'm with you. There just seems to be a boiling frustration that's like palpable. The refs were not great, but it's also at a certain point, like, I mean, nothing's going to, like, the refs aren't great, but complaining about it isn't going to take away the foul. Like, they're not going to take away the foul. They're not going to take away your technical. Maybe they call the game a little bit differently, but I mean, we've seen this repeatedly. This felt kind of like the Phoenix game a little bit, where when the adversity struck, it just kind of snowballed down. And I understand that maybe that's because they're frustrated because they felt like they haven't had their full team on the floor for a long time, which is true. They basically haven't played their 5 best guys together more than like 50 possessions or whatever it is. So I get it. They're frustrated, and everyone's frustrated. Like, it just, I don't know. Like, that's why I said this game sort of felt like those 2 Charlotte games, because it feels like guys are just kind of letting go of the rope. They're letting go of their competitiveness a little bit.
Because you don't get that, like, once
the outside stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and I understand people want to fire the coach, and I get it. And I'm not a Kid fan, but I'm trying to think of like firing Kid is not going to make Kyrie play 80% of the games that are remaining, or 90%, or whatever they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to make Derek Lively's nose go from broken to unbroken. Like, that's not to give Kid an excuse. Like, I think there's some things that he's been doing this season that are really bad. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think if they want to make a coaching change, I would just wait till the off. Like, I just don't see the benefit of bringing in someone new or elevating a new voice. Like, maybe you get that bump where you win like 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row, where you go like 5-1 because everyone's kind of pepped up by a new coaching change. But like, that stuff catches up to you a little bit, and trying to implement new stuff mid-season. I don't know. Like, maybe it's going to get to a point where they can't escape it, and they feel like that's the only change that they could make. And we have to see what the trade deadline brings, because that's what usually the mid-season coaching change is. Something happens, they can't they feel like this is the only thing that they can do.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I don't know what that's going to change right now. But when they get to the summer, I'm totally like, they do need to evaluate like all of this leadership stuff right now, because it stinks. It stinks that, they get some bad calls. Like, it felt like when the Giannis kick call went against them, like everything just kind of fell apart from there. Like, I think credit to them for maybe finishing that third quarter strong. But again, they had already lost the 25-point lead by then. Like, they shouldn't have even been in that position to begin with.
No.
Now you could say they shouldn't have had a 25-point lead to begin with, considering the odds were stacked against them. But you play the that's not what happened. Like, they got a 25-point lead. Like, you can't come away from this game being like, this isn't that big deal of a loss because they should have lost this game anyway. Like, no, like, things change. Like, you have new information and your opinion should change. Like, they had a 25-point lead. They should have been able to close the game out. They should have at least been able to make it a clutch game down. Like, this wasn't even a clutch game. Like, how many teams have a 25-point lead, lose, and it's not even goes down in the record books as a clutch game? Like, it was a bad second through fourth quarter, and the way it just kind of, the air got let out of the balloon. It felt like the Phoenix game, and the Phoenix game also had really bad vibes around it.
Yeah. Well, you said something that I thought was important and made me think of something that I didn't really close on. If you're going to complain about the referees, if that's going to be a thing, okay, and that can just happen some games, at a certain point, there needs to be a sell decision point to where you're really making the point you want to make as a player, as a coach. If it's Luka and you're really that pissed about how you've been treated, get ejected over a real call. Part of why I don't think he does is because I think he knows that in his heart of hearts, some of the things that he argues aren't worth the things that he's mad about. Kid could, Kid doesn't do that. Like, Kid doesn't get technicals. And
he's only been ejected like twice since he's been in Dallas.
I think with the kind of fragility this team is displaying, that kind of gesture might work. Carlisle did it great now and again. It's not like we as fans all feel like Kid isn't sticking up for his players. I wonder if the players feel that way. I don't know, because Kid and Hardaway and Luka, and there's a lot of weirdness. We never even touched on the fact that Kid went on the radio after the last game and said that Luka is better than Dirk and could be one of the best players of all time, which felt like such unbelievable pandering that we didn't even talk about it, because our site just looks at some of this stuff and just rolls our eyes. Like, I don't, we don't do fan speculation that much, or trade speculation. And sometimes we don't really talk about these kind of like clicky stories, because it just annoys me as an editor. And I don't know. I just, it has to start somewhere. And, Luka can get up and give his normal platitude, which is, I got to be better. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I appreciate that when he does it. There's something's got to change, Something's got to change.
Yeah, I don't really disagree.
I don't know what it will be, because I think it's just so injury dependent. And I think everything we've talked about tonight, and really for the past several games, Grant Williams shooting, Derek Jones shooting, if all those guys are bumped down the peg and have less stress on them, maybe they play better.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Derek Jones has to still play. Like, they still have to play. Like, I know if they get pegged, down a peg, that helps, but I don't know how much it helps. There's probably something that I've been thinking about. Like, it feels like we've been talking for like 2 years, maybe even longer now. Feels like it's just been this constant. Well, when the conditions are right, like when this happens and this happens, then they're going to take off, or this is going to be better. When they get healthy, when Kyrie and Luka get more time together, like when they gel. When they made before the Kyrie trade, it was like, okay, well, they just need to make the big trade. They need, there's been a little, it feels like the wheels are spinning and they're just not going in. Like, it feels like they're stuck in the mud these last 2 years. Like, the wheels are spinning in the mud and they're just not going forward. They're not necessarily going backward. I mean, they did last year for sure. But it's just like, they're just in this constant cycle of, well, let's just wait till this thing happens and then things will be better. And at a certain point, how many times can you say that before you realize, well, now the season's over, we can't wait for things to get better. Not trying to end the podcast on like a downer note, but like this might just be a year where they're not healthy. That happens to teams,
Shout
like
out to Casey Smith, wherever he is.
they're not even the most injured team in the NBA, by the way.
Not even close.
So, and of course, all those teams I think ahead of them are like really bad, like Memphis and maybe a couple other teams. So, it feels like they're kind of on a treadmill right now. Like it's just always one more thing. And like you're just waiting for the moment where they're like, okay, we are shorthanded and we are not being dealt a great hand here, but F it. Let's take 3 out of 4. Let's turn this around. Let's rally behind something. Like there's just something off that needs to change. And I can't pinpoint it. I can't quantify it. I can't statistically, highlight what that is. There just feels like they're just stalled, like they're stuck in neutral for like the last 2 years, and I don't know what that means.
Mara, one of our long-time commenters, says, "Oh my, the dreaded treadmill of mediocrity." Oh,
right.
Fuck. Good line, man. Good line. All right, Josh, I'm going to let you go edit and do some other stuff. I'm going to take a minute-long break, and then we're going to be back with our second live show. For anybody who wants to hang out, please do. I'm going to be posting a link here in the chat, which I want you to come up and join the show. For those listening on audio, Mavs Party, if I don't split it into 2 shows, the second will be on Sunday afternoon. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. Please give me just a second. I need to go make another drink, and I will be right back to talk a little basketball.
You guys have fun tonight.
Go Mavs. And we're back. Welcome to Pod Maverick presents Group Therapy. My name is Kirk Henderson. If you recall, I'm editor-in-chief over at MavsMoneyball.com. I run Pod Maverick along with Josh Bowe. We do these podcasts where you, fans, fellow basketball fans, come talk a little hoop with us. Those of you who are listening on the live show, there is a YouTube stream. A link that should be pinned within the chat. I want you to click on that and come join me. Tell me what your thoughts are on this game. Tell me what your thoughts are on the season, along with anything else that might be on your mind basketball related. If you are listening to our live show on Twitter and you want to join the show, send me a direct message and I will shoot you the link as well. All right. Coming up first, we got Brian, who is always here to help me kick off the show. Very much appreciate it. Brian, what's cracking tonight?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of just clicked the link just on reflex. I don't feel inclined to talk about that basketball team at all, man.
Sure. Should we talk about something else? I heard somebody that didn't like Blue-Eyed Samurai and got really upset with them.
Really? What was even their critique?
Oh, just like there's certain people that don't like animation, and I'm just like, I don't like Scorsese movies half the time. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Did you watch the game tonight?
I did. I watched it from beginning to end. Unfortunately, I saw that early lead that we got out to. Immediately tweeted midway through. I think by the time it was like a 15, 16 point lead, I said, "Oh, they're making." Well, no, actually, when the lead was still only 4 or 5, I said they're making everything. And the Bucks are not, and they're still only up by 4 points.
Yeah,
I know exactly what the script is on this game.
Right.
I tweeted that like 4 minutes into the game, and inevitably here we are, man.
I have
exactly
a
where it was
painful
predicted.
message to a Bucks fan friend that essentially said, I can't wait to see how we blow this 25-point lead.
Yeah, dude. I'm tired, man. Like Josh played well on offense, and at this point, that's all I'm really expecting. I'm the 3-and-D dream is dead, at least for this year. Maybe if he learns how to navigate a screen over the summer, we can, you know, go into, because he looks good when he plays on the national team. So I don't think there's still something for him to work out there.
Sure.
But offensively, he's been fine the last few weeks, so I'll take that. We got the Maxi outlier game. I was in a group chat and someone said, "Yeah, no, what Maxi showed is encouraging." I said, "No, what Maxi showed is something that should get him tested for PEDs."
I
He's
called it
not gonna repeat.
I called it the proof of life game.
Yeah, that's precisely what it was. And so yeah, Maxi had a really good game. Couldn't capitalize on it. Very annoying. Luka had a so-so game, like by his standards. Like he scored, he hit threes early on. He let the refs get in his head
He
a
had
little bit,
bad stretches that were very costly.
and he turned the ball over a whole
Nine,
hell of a lot. Like
yeah,
9
turnovers.
turnovers.
Yeah,
God, that's so
yeah.
stinky. That's so stinky, dude. How the fuck did Grant Williams have 4 turnovers when he was barely touching the ball?
Well, he had that real cool one because he dove on the ground, makes a nice play to get the ball from the Mavericks, and then threw it to Jay Crowder. That was one of them. Jay Crowder had that behind the back pass to Damian Lillard for a layup. That was a really soul crushing moment.
Yeah, I hated
Then
that
he had
so
one in the
much.
fourth quarter that was basically a happy feet one from the 3-point line. That was just 2. Those are the first 2 that come to mind. He obviously had more.
Oh, when he traveled and then Luka looked like he wanted to murder him with multiple weapons on the other side of the court.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was fun. I'm at the point, like, early in the fourth quarter, I was just in the trade machine, just fucking around. I was like, I've got better ways to spend my time. I'm just, because like people keep saying, let the team get healthy, let the team get healthy, dude. I don't give a fuck. They've had 50 games to get healthy and they're not healthy. I'm past the point of caring. Like, fire Jason Kidd, sure, but if we're firing him, fire Nico too for the job he's done over the last like 3 or 4 years. He doesn't get out of this unscathed.
Sure.
Fire Michael Finley because I don't know what the hell he does. Fire Dirk too for all I care. Trade Kyrie. I'm just over it, man. I'm so over it.
Kyrie, so I want to get your take on something.
Sure.
I'm on record. There's audio of me saying this, so there's just no point trying to act like I, do the shit where I act like I was in on Kyrie all along. I was unhappy with the Kyrie trade rumors. I was unhappy with the Kyrie trade. I was unhappy with the Kyrie resigning. But at a certain point, you dance with who brung you. I like Kyrie's play. But I don't know. Do you feel, had he not said the night that he sprained his thumb that he was going to play through it, had he not said that, would you be as kind of like, do you think the fan base would be as angsty as they are with him right now? Because I think that is why everybody's super like, because he comes out and he's like, I'm going to play through this. It'll be fine. And then he hasn't played in 5 games. I think everybody's like, me as kind of a Kyrie skeptic, I think everybody's been really hard on him. What do you think?
I agree, and I do think that there are people who were mad specifically at that. I was gonna get to the point that I'm at right now. No matter what, he's missed so much time. He's been good.
He's missed 45% of the season.
He's been good for the most part when he plays.
Yeah.
He's still like he's still gonna come back and have 2.
Yeah, he'll be good.
A shitty quarter to start the game. Both of the first couple games he played, and then we're gonna get the I've got to stop being so passive. That's not my character. Post game press conference after the 3rd game when we go under
and then he'll
500.
score like 35 points. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he'll get back on track. But like I'm just dude, the injury, the ramp up, the freak injury again, the ramp up. It's
tough because they are all freak injuries, but at a certain point, it's like, damn, this sucks.
I'm tired of it, man. It's just adding up, and it's not like his fault. He can't control getting hurt. But and then people on the timeline doing the Brunson thing again, and I'm like, dog, can we just I know that's why we're where we are, but can we just not?
Yeah.
Like one time, can we just like lose and be sad and say the team stinks and not come back to, well, Jalen Brunson.
I had one national media member kind of get into it with me and be like, how much of this is Luka wanting everything for himself? And I'm just like, can you guys go fuck yourselves? I
What?
promise you he wants to win. If he didn't want to win, he wouldn't play on a Slovenian national team that has nobody taller than 6'7" on it. He wants to win. Winning is what is important to him, not winning on his terms. Winning. I
And
feel
if he wanted to win on
insane
his
sometimes.
If he wanted to win on his terms, why would he look around at what he's seeing right now and be like, "Yes, these are my terms.
Yes,
This is
I love
precisely
this.
what I
This
want."
is so great. I love playing with 32% three-point
I
shooter.
love that the two of our starters should be starters, our minimum guys that we picked up like 3 weeks before free agency, and I love it. That's amazing. Don't you agree? Isn't that also amazing to you?
I feel like we're all and this is why we do these shows, because we got my friend Captain Kyrie's going to join here in a little bit, who will probably have some delight. Henry will have great countering thoughts to this, and this is why we do these, because conversation is much better than typing, where everybody is a fucking keyboard warrior, including myself. I told one guy tonight who was like, "Your opinion is trash," and I'm like, "You fucking follow me. I don't follow you."
I was about to say,
what are we
you
doing?
literally have to be in here to see it. So that, and look, man, Captain Kyrie can come up here and kill me. Probably.
No. It's this.
I don't even. I'm not even. I like Kyrie. I want Kyrie to succeed.
We need him.
Mad at Kyrie.
This just doesn't feel good. It sucks.
No, everything feels bad, and I just want everything and everyone to go away. That's kind of the point that I'm at. I've hit the point that I was after the first Charlotte loss last year, where I'm just like, I don't until they do something. Do something. There's no reason to watch this team, and I say that I'm gonna keep watching.
As I keep watching every day.
Yeah, but I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna keep watching, and I'm gonna keep being depressed. And I'm gonna keep coming back and saying these things, because this is what's been happening for like a month now.
Well, I mean, there's just I don't know. I mean, Kyrie probably come back. We're gonna have. Who do we play next? The Sixers. We have a string. Just so everybody knows, just for like scheduling purposes, we have a string of beautiful timed basketball games. We have a 6 o'clock, a 6:30, and a 2 p.m. start time. I'm pretty sure of our next, like, just real stuff of magic. And I say that as a new dad who loves going to bed. So man, this isn't all that fun, but I'm glad I can talk about it with other people rather than reading through my timeline, because like with Josh and I had kind of an interesting discussion about Grant, and like it made me think about Mavs fans for life. Landon Thomas wrote a piece about Grant. And even in the headline, he said something about, I can't remember the headline exactly, but it's just talking about Grant's struggles and talking about how, this was the opportunity for Grant Williams to go from being a bit player to potentially like a real quality. He might have used the word superstar, but I don't want to put words if I don't remember the headline. But like talking about how Grant Williams had a real chance to become something here and still does. But it's like
For as long as he's here.
And then I think about this Josh Bowe tweet. Listen to this. This is brutal. The big Mavericks money offseason trade or free agent since Luka's rookie year. 2019, DeLon Wright. 2020, Josh Richardson. 2021, Reggie Bullock. 2022, Christian Wood. 2023, Grant Williams.
Oh my God! And he's the first on Wood. Oh God.
I mean,
so
it's like, and you just at a certain point, like, I don't like being this mean about Grant. Well, Grant Williams. I don't like. It's not fun. I don't want to be mean about our players. I mean, sometimes I do, but not like all the time.
Kirk, and the worst part about it is, and Josh said it too, most of those moves, and it's what gives me kind of like pause about even being optimistic about what they're doing in the future. Most of those moves we kind of liked at the time, except for like the JaVale one and the JaVale one and like the DeLon Wright move. I don't think I was a huge fan of that one at the time, but otherwise we were all like, hey, these are good little moves.
All right, work out. We're so stupid,
and none of them have worked out. And I'm just like, okay, so even I feel like even if they managed to swing like Kuzma and Gafford, and like they throw out that first, they throw out a swap, second salary, Jaden Hardy, whatever, and they manage to get him, I'm still in the back of my mind going to be like, okay, how do they possibly fuck this up? Because they're still going to. I just don't know how.
I know, man. Here we are. All right. Thanks for hanging out and getting us started.
Question. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we got 3 other folks waiting. We got Rain, who I'm going to bring up next, then Henry, then Brandon. Rain, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Rain, you there? All right, we'll give Rain a second. We're going to go to Henry. Henry, what's going on, man?
What's going on, boss, man? How you feeling?
I mean, I wish we're at the point in the season where I question why I do this.
It's therapy. It's therapy, man.
Not just the therapy, but like covering the games, because it's like I mentioned the fact earlier that like the Mavericks, and you were in that last show. I saw your comment where it's like the Mavericks have a 3-game win streak at the beginning of January, a 4-game win streak at the beginning of December. Like there's just no continuity in their play, and there's so many reasons for that, but it sucks all the same.
I can't. I'm trying to remember the coach's name. I think it was like Igor Kokoskos or something of the sort like that. When him and Luka said in Euroball, almost every time up the floor, there's a set. There's a designed play for a designed outcome to happen.
Yes.
The difference, the Mavericks Q1 was a top 3 team in the West. I have not seen them play defense like this all fucking year.
Yeah, it was pretty tight.
And they actually ran sets. There were plays. It was I don't know what happened. It was flowing. It was defense. And then literally from 2 to 4, it went back to high pick and roll, 4 out, Luka ISO. I don't know what happened from Q1 to the rest of the game.
Well, in the 4th, they did start throwing that really, I don't want to call it unorthodox, but it's just like, I don't think Dame Lillard might as well be tissue paper as far as defense goes.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you had Giannis up there kind of like looking like a windmill in Luka's face. And he just kind of, this is where, having Lively in the middle of the floor, I think would have made a better difference. He would find Dwight a few times, but his best option in his mind was going ISO. And this gets back to what we've talked about to date. You've heard us talking. They don't do that if Kyrie's out on the floor. They really don't, because you got another option out there.
If I join the chat here, will this kick me out of here? Because I want to type with some of these guys.
I don't know, because I have to do this from my computer, and if you're on your phone, that's a different one.
Right,
You don't argue it. I got a great piece of advice the other day. Now, keep in mind, all my wonderful live commenters, I'm glad you're here. I had a friend of mine who does this stuff for like a living, basically tell me to not always over-index the chat.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. No, this is just like,
and I do that a lot because I like interacting with people.
No, I'm shouting out Jeremy Sennett because he sees the Jason Kidd avatar, and then Mavericks fans, so he's shouting out. And no, so I just wanted to shout out a couple of people, but
oh yeah, absolutely.
Did we? Okay, 2 things. One, can we acknowledge how shameful it is that Jalen Brunson got more help in his 2nd year with New York than Luka has in 6?
They built a nice team up there, man.
Like
really
that,
built something special.
Actually insane. And again, I think I said it last time. Until Cuban gets rid of this buddy bros club shit with Jason Kidd. Again, Jason Kidd was a primarily passing guard. He is not the coach. It's nothing against him. He needs to be coaching a Trae Young, a Tyrese Halliburton, or someone that's more of a facilitator. He doesn't need to be coaching 2 scoring guards. It doesn't fucking work. That's number 1. Number 2, to the Luka stands on Twitter, bro. Most people are really good people, but some of the Luka stands who with that little video, because Kyrie had a conversation with Dame talking about he's not committed, and they're probably trolling.
Oh yeah, but no, because Kyrie likes everybody. Kyrie goes and daps up every possible person. He's
I just don't understand
guy.
how they're blaming Kyrie in this situation, because if Kyrie had 40 and 10 and they lost, it's oh my god, look, he needs Luka. But now Luka does it, oh my god, he needs so much help. So it's the delusional Luka fans that actually piss me off from this fan club. I've never seen it so much. And again, I'm sure most of these are trolls.
No, it's not trolling, but it is kind of a level of frustration. And I do think that Kyrie is not. You saw the Stephen A. Smith thing this week, which
that was egregious. But then again, we know ESPN and Disney. We know the play.
Well, but that's kind of what sports talk radio does. I mean, I just kind of include all the sort of like throw out a fire take, let's talk about it sort of thing. And that's just it's just the nature of it. It's really I It's so weird. It's so weird I know you're newer to our show, but like I'm usually the negative one. And so for my co-host Josh to be like, this feels like the Charlotte games last year is shocking to me.
So again, so the guy that just left, I can't remember his name, but the other guy that came on first.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Okay, so Brian, when he said, let's say we got Danny Avdia and Gafford or Kuz and such, and you're still waiting for them to fuck this up. And I agree. I agree. Because I posted, I said, okay, we have a 25-point lead, 21-point lead. Watch we blow this shit. I don't think there's any true Mavs fan that actually thought that we were actually going to hold that lead. Did I think we were going to win the game?
Yes.
But I didn't think we were actually going to blow the fucking lead like that. So my thing is what can the Mavericks as an organization do to where if they make a move in the back of your head, you're not waiting for the rug to be pulled under you?
Yeah. Nothing right now. That's honestly why, like, I we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty, but that's what this show is for. And I'm not great about trade stuff. I don't like the fact that in order to be an NBA fan, sometimes you have to be an accountant that also understands like trade spreadsheets and shit. And it's just not really what I like to do. I like to watch basketball. It's a wild concept.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure if they trade away their 2027 pick, that all that really does, it's like charging a credit card. You have to, the bill comes due. And I think if they move that 2027 pick, I don't think they can do anything of interest this summer.
I mean, they would have 3 first round picks this summer, right?
That's what I want. Do that.
Okay, so would you be okay with trading one now if we had 2 during the summer?
No, because I don't think you can, because those 2 at that point are so far down the road. I don't think they matter.
Okay. So you think those 2 are contingent upon this one?
Yes. I don't know. See, and that's where it's like, I'm not great about this stuff. It's just, I want to have the ammunition to be able to go say, here's the cards that we have. Now, there's a lot of great points in return from that essentially boil down to, well, you don't know who's going to be available this summer. You know, Kyle Kuzma is available right now. Can you get a better person than Kyle Kuzma this summer? And let me just tell you that in 2024, it really hurts me on like a spiritual level to have Kyle Kuzma matter that much.
Yeah, I really don't want the Kuzma kick. That is disgusting. There's nothing that I've seen from him. Again, I wasn't a big Danny Avdia fan until I saw Danny Avdia's defensive highlights. I feel like him and Gafford would be the play, or we do PJ Washington, Nick Richards, and I think there was like one more thing in there too where I actually liked it. But another thing that I actually pointed out from the game that I feel like was really the turning point, or one of the many turning points, was when Luka didn't get that obvious call after Giannis completely fucking ninja'd him in the nuts.
Yes.
He didn't get that foul call. I feel like Luka's body language and mood switched for the worse. And again, we put so much pressure on him because he's 24, fam. He's still a kid, but someone has to let him know that when his body language and his mood changes, that leadership then trickles down to the rest of the team.
It's cascading.
Yeah, you can't do that. And it's hard for me to tell a 24-year-old not to do that. You still have to remember he's a kid.
But he knows it. That's the other thing. And that's what the Slovenian fans will tell you. He knows it. It's that not that we're not psychologists, but the 24 part of it does matter. And I really think that there's going to be something at like 28 where he's just like, I'm a different dude.
Oh, yeah. He's got to go through life. You have to go through some shit. You know what I mean? Like that Western Conference heartbreak, or, whatever you don't call it. I don't think anyone expect him to beat it, but you have to go through failure and fuck shit, and then you emerge out of it. That's the only way men grow, is through suffering. So I'm hoping that every breaking point in your life has come from some sort of pain or suffering or loss, every single time, for every man. So, but he has to stop the body language, bro. That rubs off crazy, like, and I really
head dropping.
Everything
go like this,
the sulking, the running back slowly, making it a 4-on-5 for the enemy. Like, it's tough. He has to stop it. It's extremely tough play. And I'll end with everything I say every time I come on here, man. I want Jason Kidd fired by 11:59, so we got about 14 minutes to go. So, bring in Mike Budenholzer and go from there, man. But I've emotionally detached for this team. I'm gonna still watch them, but I've no longer invested in them the way I was earlier in the season. I just kind of watch it now. It is what it is.
Well, thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
See you, man.
All right, talk soon. All right, coming up next is my man Brandon. Actually, no, Rain rejoined. Rain was in line. We're gonna give Rain a chance here, Brandon. Give me just a second. Rain, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm just gonna switch this camera off because I'm about to drive.
I understand. That's my favorite is when people are on this show driving, and I'm just like, guys, don't do that. Don't do it. But hey, wait, you can listen to me. What's going on?
Well, I'm just at a point of complete apathy.
Ooh.
That might have to do more.
Did your audio drop, man? And Rain's having a hard time with the car. I've done this too, where it's like the car audio will kick you in and out between the Bluetooth thing. All right, Rain, I'm gonna have to bring you back up. We'll try again. Brandon, welcome back.
Kurt, you doing all right?
I am doing. I hear my wife upstairs with the 3-month-old, and he sounds really angry. And I'm wondering if I should cancel the show. But until she tells me to come up, we're gonna keep talking. So what's going on?
Waiting for that Kyle Kuzma trade.
Yeah. I don't know how I'll react to that because Kyle Kuzma is a much better player than I originally thought. I kind of thought that he was like the Lakers bump guy because like they do this with everybody where it's like if you play for the Los Angeles Lakers, you're fantastic. Yeah. And only problem is every guy that they drafted and played with for years turned out to be really pretty stinking good.
Yeah.
And he's another one.
He is another one, but man, I think it's gonna take a little bit more than Kyle Kuzma to help this roster out, Kurt.
I think you're right.
But look, I feel like this. I mean, the roster is so injured and so up and down. I mean, trading past the midpoint, I feel like it would be useless. This is my opinion, especially with not knowing if, you get a player that you don't know is going to resign. That's lost value. And we've lost enough value over the years by just giving away money to bigs that don't really, contribute. Yeah. So I feel like it's a lost cause. So to me, I mean, you just have to, me being a Mavs fan, I would just have to face it that, this roster is not that good. The best bet is to go for it. This summer, the guys that, don't fit the culture, let them go. And, you have a pick, going forward, despite giving away the Knicks pick this year, it's one asset that we do have as opposed to going, into the rest of the season with somebody that may or may not sign. And, Mavs have a terrible history of people walking away after 1 year. There's been plenty of examples, even with just role players, of guys going away. So I would just, run it back and just take my L if I had to.
Hell, I mean, Cuban talked about this in a recent Twitter thread where, man, that man spends more time on Twitter than I do. But just he kind of kept referring back to the team health, and I get why. I just want to see it. And the top comment on my recap tonight at Mavs Moneyball is like, "Yep, another preordained loss after missing 3 starters," and it's just, it really is hard. Like I don't think it's that reductive. It can't be because these guys are NBA players and some of them are supposed to be pretty good. But that doesn't take away from the fact that like this just continues to feel real bad. Like there's just, you remember in 2022 we went on that run, everything felt great. Mm-hmm. This felt so, it feels like a Wednesday at work that never ends.
The day that never ends. But I mean, Kirk, is so hard for these guys to, with the injuries and a lot of these guys being young, they really haven't had a chance to play with each other. They had a chance to play with Luka because he's always in the roster, and guys that's always playing, is really odd this year because Dwight Powell was injured and he's never injured. But there's so much turnaround. I mean, how many guys are really, and this is no knock to Luka, but how many guys are going to be able to develop around Luka? Shooting skills, ball handling skills, or just getting a feel of the game around somebody that's just ball dominant. And, I brought this up before that, he's good for helping guys, but them missing time and not being able to play with each other, I feel like that will have to definitely factor into not only the culture but the record as well too. So it's just circumstance. I feel.
Well, it's tough because there's not a lot of answers, and I don't think they're going to get any, which is why I just think at a certain point there needs to be, we need to hear about some players only meeting. We need to hear about something, some kind of accountability somewhere. The Mavericks are a little bit of a leaky ship. And we always hear this sort of stuff. Everybody hates Tim McMahon because he's the only one who asks any real questions night to night. But I want to hear something like that where it's like McMahon comes out and says, well, I heard there's a team only meeting and they, beat Grant Williams with soap bars wrapped in towels until he cried. And then they realized they were going to play better. Like, I don't know, something ridiculous. I need that. I need that to inject some life into the season because it feels listless.
It feels meaningless as well, too. Yeah. I mean, it's like these guys are just out there going with emotions. And I feel like with, these guys being super competitive, if something doesn't give, then it can easily just turn into some type of internal rift to where they're not really on the same page because they're losing. Winning cures all ills, but they just keep losing becomes a part of the culture. Then I have to feel like there's going to be some type of finger pointing. And with the roster not being good at all, there could be a lot of finger pointing. And to me, the front office doesn't seem like the type that's going to go in there and, mediate or, kind of, I guess you could say, manage these tempers. So it can get bad fast,
and maybe it will. And maybe it will. I'm not to the point where my colleague Josh Bowe was, where he's just like, this feels like something that's gone off the rails.
Right.
Because they close out here. Let's just see here. I got the schedule up. They close out. They go Sixers, who won't have Joel Embiid. They have Brooklyn, who are a catastrophically bad vibes team. Then they go New York Knicks, who probably should beat the daylights out of us, but that just strikes me as a game that's going to be a great one. That's a TNT game. Mm-hmm. And then they play the Thunder, Washington, and then San Antonio before All-Star break. So that's 6 games. And that's 6 games, and they're only 3 games above 500. 3 games above 500. They need to win. They need to go split 500 for me. They need to go into the All-Star break above 500. That's my kind of line of demarcation.
And to me, that would be more of the priority than, any type of potential coaching changing or trade, because think about this. You're 3 games above 500. You're going into the break and you have these tough games and you have guys that's injured. Making some type of change would kind of shift the narrative to me, it would seem like it would throw off the chemistry. So I would definitely prioritize getting wins in before anything.
Well, on the deadline, and see, you'd think I'd know this because I run a website. The deadline is Thursday. So
it's crazy.
Yeah. So they'll still have games to play after that, because remember, we're all excited about Kyrie last year, where we went and then Luka was hurt. Luka got hurt trying to, I don't know if you remember this. He got hurt trying to dunk from the middle of the key against New Orleans. And then his calf was just never the same the rest of the year. So, oh goodness, you got anything else for us, Brandon?
Yeah, man, that's it, Kirk. But I look at it like this. I mean, they're the Mavericks. I've watched them a long time, and I've seen some terrible basketball. So it's just another season, man. I don't know if you remember Doug McCloud. That dude, if you don't, you're not missing.
I'm not quite old enough for that, but I know who he is.
Dude, he shot the most threes in one season. He was 33%. This is pre-Dirk, Doug McCloud. There's not a lot of highlights of him. Shout out to Doug, but man, it was bad. You got to think back to the Sam Dellenberg days, the Sagana Diop, Jose Calderon. I mean, there's been so many names that's been thrown out that potentially could help the Mavs. Elton Brand, Eric Dampier. All these names have been out there for years, and the Mavericks have always been this 500 team. So what's interesting is Cuban has been there all of those years. Just like Jerry Jones been there for the mediocre Cowboys days.
Yep.
Cuban's been there for the mediocre, Dallas Maverick days. So at some point, he's going to realize that it's either cognitive dissonance or something. But, it's just who they are, and their roster hasn't changed. Their culture hasn't changed. So until there's a cultural shift in their front office, the only thing we could do is just watch the game and hope that they get better.
Yeah. No. Well, appreciate you joining as always, my guy.
Thank you, Kirk.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to try Rain one more time, and then Rain, it might not happen for you tonight. Rain, let's try the audio now.
Trying the audio again.
Hey, there we go. What's up?
Like I said, just complete apathy. As we all know, Kuzma's not going to make this any better. He might be an improvement over whatever we trade for him, but if Kyrie's out, Lively's out, continual revolving door of just players in and out of the hospital, nothing's going to change. I don't see the value in making any big swing moves, not that they really can or have the pieces to. And I'm not here sitting tank. I'm just saying let the season be what it's going to be. Don't trade anything of value, and if injuries and the like just lead them to happen to being able to keep their pick, and that's just the way that the cards fall, then that's just what it is.
I like it. That's kind of where I am, because I don't want to give anything up of value, because nothing that's out there moves the needle. Not to be all, dropping really terrible metaphors, but improving from a team that can win 42 games to a team that can win 43 and a half games and giving up a first round pick to do so strikes me as like patently insane.
And I do genuinely believe that despite the records being very similar, this team is an improvement over last year. It is a very marked improvement over last year.
There were no answers last year. We know that there are things that work for this team. Last year, there was nothing that worked. They were healthy. I mean, well, moderately. Luka and Kyrie weren't particularly healthy down the stretch, but it wasn't like this where it's like, oh, well, here's our next 4 guys that are missing 10 to 12 games.
And not to pump the brakes on, I can't remember who it was, fire Kid. Okay, I'll be on that. We can get rid of Kid. Not the point of the year where this should happen. It's just not going to do anything. Something has to change with the culture of their team. Luka might bear some responsibility for this. I did hope that, and Kyrie has proven to be somewhat of an effective leader on the team. But the culture of the team under Kid, someone needs to be able to light a fire under these guys when things aren't going well. And he might be able to manage their personalities in the locker room, but he can't clearly manage them when they're on the court.
Yeah.
And I do think, not that this is going to happen, that next year there should be a change. And obviously, there should be roster changes as well. And I do think that what Nico did over the season, off-season, was an improvement. Now, could we have known that, I'm blanking on his name right now, because he's a blank on the court.
Grant Williams?
Grant Williams, there we go.
That hurts.
Theoretically, he should have fit like a glove.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that Luka could get paid. What does he do? Bit of 3, a bit of D. If you can do that, anyone who can do that should look at Luka and go, this guy's going to tick my 3-point percentage up maybe, 3-4 points. I'm going to get more wide open shots than I've ever seen in my life. I can look like a star on this team. Any defensive attention that I do draw is going to be highlighted even more, because I might be one of 3 guys on the entire bloody team that can defend to any degree.
Right.
But he's just become nothing. I actually was pushing for that in the off season, and now I can't even remember his name. It's tragic. But the rest of their moves, the Ixom, I thought Derek Jones Jr. In the off season, I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Sorry, the apathy has subsided. I was thinking, what the fuck are we doing? This guy doesn't fit, and he's not as good as he was at the start of the year, but he's way outplaying his contract. Ixom's outplaying his contract. Otherwise, I think the off-season moves were good, and Rome wasn't built in a day. So I feel like give him another opportunity in the off-season, and let's be honest, you can't really go changing out your GM every other season now, can you? But some things just have to change, but I don't see the point of changing them right now. Unless they're going to pick up Wiggins for, I don't know, like $3 and a candy bar, there's just no point.
Yeah.
It doesn't get us anywhere. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you struggling through and hanging out to talk with us, all right?
No worries. Have a good one, Kirk.
All right. Rain says he has apathy, but then he hangs out to join a live show for 40 minutes. So he's not that apathetic, and we're grateful that he joined. David, you're going to take us home tonight. What's going on?
Hey, Kirk. So, you said I always only go to good games. Well, tonight I was at this game. So it was the first quarter was the most fun ever because it was the Maxi game for like
Sure.
the first 20 minutes. I'm just going to hit a few notes that I don't think other people have already covered because I think there's a lot of
It's all right, man.
a lot of good stuff. So first off, the debate that we had earlier this week, Luka is definitely a better player than Dirk, has not had a better career, obvious.
Sure.
We can, but the one thing that Dirk needs to help this young man with is his maturity, because it kills me. The guy is more than enough talented, and yet there was a whole defensive play with a baseline. I forget who it was, Chris Middleton or somebody just ran behind him while he was sitting there complaining to the refs in the second quarter about a no call. And like the amount of, if he can take the beatings, he can literally get his ankle broken by Giannis and teleport back to, I didn't even see, I saw him go to the locker right underneath where my seats are and then teleport back into the game 2 minutes later. And he can do that, but yet he can't contain his emotions on a non-call where he barely got Grays going to the rim. If he can like button that up, I think that'll help. But our team just lacks size, man. Every time I've gone to one of these games,
Bucks are real big.
Yeah, it's
Giannis is an enormous human.
Yeah, Giannis is the idea that he's, it's like the Tim Duncan problem. Is he a center? Is he a forward? Who the fuck cares? He's 7'8" and jumps out of the gym. He just, I thought he would be bully ball tonight from like within 5 feet of the basket. And instead it was just him running at the basket. I was shocked that people couldn't try and stay in front of him better, but he's extremely gifted. And, when we're running a lineup of Powell and Kleber and Grant Williams as our bigs, those are essentially two small forwards and like maybe a power forward in Dwight Powell. Like we don't have anybody over 6'10". We're just not going to be able to compete in the NBA without another 7-footer. At least when we had Boban, we had somebody to mix things up. And tonight I saw Kid, I think it was the third quarter, he subbed out within 30 seconds. He had subbed out Grant Williams, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and Dwight Powell, and then back again. Like he went back to it because he was completely devoid of options. So I don't even know like where to go right now besides getting healthy. But we're like, as Mavs fans, we're all expecting Dante Exum and Kyrie Irving to magically save the day. When really, like, Derek Lively having his nose broken, and you talked about going 500 these next few games, it's going to be brutal. Thank God Joel Embiid is going to be out, but like Victor Wembanyama is as bad as the Spurs are. Holy Christmas, we are going to get eaten alive in these upcoming games by every single big. I mean, this is going to be bad, y'all. Like brace for impact. We need to pray that Luka and the tandem shooting of all of these guards can get us through the next, I don't know, 30 quarters of basketball to like until we can get some size back. Because without Derek Lively, we have zero. Like if the Mavericks make any trade, I don't know who's out there. I know we've been begging for Capella, but anybody, we need a backup center like yesterday. We need somebody that can back up this team because there's nothing we can do. All of our defense is played below the rim. The only chance we have is playing some sort of zone, trying to get inside the passing spaces. And if it wasn't for Derek Jones Jr. tonight, we would have probably lost by 25. Like, he covered so many gaps and caused so many tips and like errant passes in the first half, and then again later in the second. It was incredible. And if it wasn't for Grant Williams making us, play 4-on-6, then, maybe we have a shot defensively. But like, yeah, that's really all I got to say. Like, I mean, obviously we got to get healthy. I don't want us to make a gamble trade, but like, it's sad. It's sad watching us like have the smallest lineup that I've ever seen night after night after night. And then couple that with this argument that we saw earlier about like who's the better player, who's the better career. I will say this: Dirk took accountability for the team, and
Sure.
it is drastically missing. Like Luka does everything that you want a superstar to do, except keep his focus where it belongs in game. I mean, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to, especially with bullshit calls. Like literally,
Sure.
Giannis kicked him in the stomach tonight.
It wasn't. Look, Luka sold it a little. Like he did make, but Luka sold that thing like he was like getting, like I used to sell fights with my big brother where he's beating me up.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, there was also Luka just popcorn hand one out of bounds, and they showed the replay in the arena, and he obviously didn't even get touched, and he tried to like Euro soccer player injury to his face or something. It's like, no, bro, you just fucking coughed at the
Sure.
basketball. The idea that like, but like Giannis, like I expected them at least to maybe say offensive foul on Giannis because he wasn't dunking it, he was throwing an outlet pass, and
Right.
they didn't even wipe that away. And then of course on the other end, Tim Hardaway got bodied. Like he tackled him through the layup. Giannis did, and they didn't even call it. Like they just like, yep, that was a block. It's like, yeah, on his neck. It was, the reffing was bad tonight, sure, but like the free throw disparity really wasn't there. We actually rebounded well. Like everyone hustled tonight, which is the sad part. Like we hustled hard. The turnovers and the sloppiness again were a result of those passes from Luka. A lot of them sailed, meaning that he's expecting guys to be able to jump higher. Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, and none of those guys could reach some of those passes. Part of that's on him, but that's
Sure.
part of that's on he's gotten used to having the
Well,
luxury
yeah.
of an actual center. And if those guys are an inch or two taller, we have a
Bucks
slightly
are
taller
so
lineup.
big too. The Bucks put Luka in a bit of a blender today. I mean, 9 turnovers. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, he was having some just handles issues around the perimeter, which were a little uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's my take is it's going to be rough these next few games because if Derek Lively can't get in there, I don't know what our record is without him. Somebody's probably got it on their laptop, but it's going to be brutal, Kirk. Like this team is too small night in, night out. We have too many guards, and as much as I love Tim Hardaway's season so far overall, like if we can get more size between him or
Sure.
Hardy. And that was the other thing. I don't know why he took Hardy. I felt like Hardy
I do,
was doing
because
okay.
Hardy takes when Hardy doesn't
go
have.
ahead. I want your take because I couldn't.
So basically, when Hardy decides that he's gonna make magic happen, nothing good happens. He took a step back jumper at the top of the key because he just can't get separation from anybody. And his best assets are when he's catching the ball on the move already and the defense isn't totally set. Because he's shifty enough, he's strong enough, he's athletic enough, but he's not particularly quick. And
Right.
so what he'll do is he'll take a bad shot, but then he won't get back on defense. And you cannot do both. And Bobby Corrala pointed it out to me, and I've been watching it happen where he'll watch a shot a little too long, and then he'll get beat back. And that's just, it's tough. And Kid doesn't have the patience for it. And they should have turned to him again, I think, just because they need the minutes eaten up by somebody. But that was kind of why.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. But again, it's like Kid, that limits your rotation to like more Grant Williams minutes. When there's definitely times where it's like, we need some offense in here and something to get our spark going. But yeah, if we don't have any more size, like I'm getting really nervous about the season. Like somebody, I think Brian to start this off was saying he had vibes from Charlotte. And I'm
sure.
That was the end of the year last year for me. Is like that first Charlotte loss was catastrophic. I was like, oh no, this is like we are in full nosedive time. And at that point, it was like go all the way, get a pick, steal it from the Knicks, screw them. They already messed with Jalen Brunson. Take it from them. I don't know what we do this year, but if we don't make the playoffs this year, or we're 10th seed,
it's gonna be rough. I'm not looking forward to that, but I still think they're all right. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys.
All right. Coming up last, we got, I said David was last, but then we got another guest. Mike joined down below. I'm going to bring Mike up on stage. Mike, welcome to the show. What's going on, man?
What's up? Long time viewer, first time coming up here. I
Appreciate
just
it.
wanted to get off that it's such bad basketball that it's just on another screen now. I don't even fucking listen to it anymore. I watch and I'm like, oh, I just have happy moments where it's like, oh, we're up like 26. Nice. I saw Luka got like he hurt his ankle or something. I was worried about that, but he came back in. But it's so infuriating that I'm just watching The Wire and I'm just peeking at the game on a different screen from now on.
That's
My
a better
wife-
use of your time tonight.
It definitely is. It's like, what are we doing? I get that messed up about it, but then when I come in here and I see everybody else messed up about it, it gives me I go the other way. Now now I feel like, I don't know, we have Derek Lively and Luka Doncic. When Derek Lively gets better, I feel like Derek Lively could be an all-star probably if he's this good in his rookie year. I don't know. I feel like this year is gonna suck anyway. Let's just make it to the playoffs. Like, we're a dice roll against anyone. I like the Timberwolves matchup anyway. Let's just get in. Let's be the 8th seed. Let's beat the Timberwolves. It's not that bad, guys. Put him on.
You've gone through the full range of feelings tonight, haven't you?
Exactly.
Well, what season of The Wire are you on?
I'm second. This first time watching it. I'm on the
Season
second
2. You're on season 2?
Yep.
Season 2 may feel like a slog.
It already does. It's like, what the hell?
You just gotta. What did Lester Freeman say in season 1? He says all the pieces matter. That show comes together, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay." So, anyway, sorry. As a white guy, look, man. As a white guy approaching 40, I have to talk about The Wire because it's the thing I did in my 20s, and it's just such a great show. Yeah, I think this is a positive note to end the show on because the framework is there, which is why I'm not down and out on the season yet. I like the take, Mike. I think this is a healthy take, and I think everyone should take it to heart. It'll be, and if it's not okay, then we can go watch something else on TV. That's
exactly. Put them on your second screens, guys. Let them. If they're bitching and complaining that they need to get healthy, then fine. Watch The Wire. Let them get healthy. Screw it.
Mike, thanks so much, man. Talk soon. All right.
Yep. See ya.
It's a great way to end the show, guys. This has been Kirk. I can hear my wife upstairs. She needs some help with the baby. Appreciate you hanging out with me for almost almost 100 minutes again tonight. Everybody be good. We'll be back on Monday night. 2 or 3 early games in a row, like I mentioned. So we'll hopefully have talk a little earlier in the evening. Everybody be good. Go Mavs.